Hello, viewers. In this session, I'll discuss with you all a very popular poem of Sarojini Naidu, The Gift of India. Let's begin by knowing something about the poet. Sarojini Naidu, popularly known as the Nightingale of India, was born on 13th Feb 1879. She was an Indian political activist and poet. She was a prolific poet whose volumes of poetry include The Golden Threshold, The Bird of Time, The Feather of the Dawn, The Sceptered Flute, etc. She was the first female Indian governor of Uttar Pradesh in independent India. So this was short introduction of the poet. Historical background plays an inevitable part in understanding a literary work. Here too, to understand the poem better, one must know of the political and historical context in which it was written. Sarojini Naidu wrote the poem in 1915 during the time of World War I. At that time, India was one of the colonies of the British Empire. Thus, over 10 lakh Indian soldiers fought along with the British Army in different locations. Further, during the colonial expansion, India was exploited for its riches and resources. The same is addressed by the poet in the line, "Is it not enough that I have given everything?" The poet has used these two situations as a background in this poem to express her patriotism. The poem is a simple, elegant poem written in 24 lines divided into four 6-line stanzas. Each stanza of the poem is complete in itself despite its connectedness with the central theme. The first two lines of each stanza introduce an idea, and the next two lines build upon them. The final two lines serve as a conclusion for the stanza. The poem follows a simple AABBCC rhymes throughout the poem. Gift of India is set on the theme of unrecognized sacrifice made by Indian soldiers during World War I. The setting of the poem runs on World War I. Millions of soldiers from British India went across nations to fight, and thousands of them died too. Since the warriors died miles apart and their bodies were buried at the alien, a strange land, away from homeland, the poet exhorts that they should be remembered, their sacrifice should be remembered. The poem presents an appeal made by Mother India to the world to remember the contribution of Indian soldiers during World War I. It is surcharged with the emotional outpouring of a mother, reminiscence on how her children fought and died during World War I. In the first stanza, the poet regards all the benefits of raiment, grain, and gold unearthed and taken away across the world as gifts from India. The second stanza pictures the pathetic situation of those who lost their lives miles apart from home. The third stanza briefs on the grief brought home by their death. The final fourth stanza, the speaker appeals to honor the sacrifices of the Indian soldiers. Is there aught you need that my hands withhold? Rich gifts of raiment or grain or gold? Lo, I flung to the east and the west priceless treasures torn from my breast, and yielded the sons of my stricken womb to the drumbeats of duty, the sabres of doom. This first stanza begins with a rhetorical question. Here the poet personifies India as a mother who loves and longs for her children sent to war. The tone in the stanza reflects the disappointment and anger of the speaker. She asks if there is anything that was withheld by her, such as raiment or grain or gold. She has sent the priceless treasures torn from her breast. This means that they were quite young. They were not given a choice. They were taken away forcibly to fight in the war to the countries far off. Moreover, she has sent her sons to the faraway alien lands to fight in the battle. The sabers of doom represent the nature of the war and the destruction that could happen in its wake. Gathered like pearls in their alien graves, silent the sleep by the Persian waves. Scattered like shells on Egyptian sands, they lie with and brave broken hands. They are strewn like blossoms mown down by chance on the blood brown meadows of Flanders and France. In this stanza, the speaker pictures the sacrifice of the Indian soldiers made in the alien lands and the horrors of war and war fronts in a rich poetic language. The poet uses imagery and metaphor to distinguish the sacrifice made by Indians. The similes gathered like pearls, scattered like shells, denotes the careless treatment of the dead bodies of the Indian soldiers. The terms alien graves, Persian waves, Egyptian sands, and Flanders and France in the stanza explicitly present how the soldiers are buried far away from home, from the dear and near ones. The painful image of death and suffering is given in the description. They lie with pale brows and brave broken hands. In the last line, the poet metaphorically compares the warriors to blossoms and the battlefield to blood brown meadows, detailing the anguish of the speaker who realizes that they died by chance fighting someone else's war. Can ye measure the grief of the tears I weep, or compass the woe of the watch I keep, or the pride that thrills through my heart's despair, and the hope that comforts the anguish of prayer, and the far sad glorious vision I see of the torn red banners of victory? The rhetorical questions presented in this stanza add beauty to the poem and at the same time enumerate the distress of the speaker. The speaker asks the warring countries whether they can feel the grief that she feels or the tears that she weeps for her dead sons. The speaker, despite her sadness, is proud of her sons who have fought bravely and brought victory. Sarojini Naidu here has given shape to the voices of countless Indian mothers whose sons sacrificed their lives in the war. She talks of the small hopes and prayers some had for their sons' safety and return since the war was still going on. In the last two lines, the poet wonders if those people also see the far sad glorious vision that she sees of the torn red banners of victory. The poet looks certain of the victory that would come with the efforts of her children, yet she finds no pleasure for the sacrifices that are irrevocable. The torn red banners of victory symbolizes the blood of Indians who sacrificed for the victory of their colonizers. When the terror and the tumult of hate shall cease, and life be refashioned on anvils of peace, and your love shall offer memorial thanks to the comrades who fought in your dauntless ranks, and you honor the deeds of the deathless ones, remember the blood of thy martyred sons. In this last stanza, the speaker throws light upon the after effects of the war and the process of life becoming normal. So, when the war is over, so will be the terror and tumult of hate, and gradually life will get back to normal. No doubt, with lots of changes. So, at that time, everyone will pay respect to those who have fought and died in the war. So the speaker expects the world to remember the sacrifice of her martyred sons. So you can notice here the used punctuation makes us understand the speaker or here the Mother India exhorts upon the Britishers to pay homage, due homage to the martyred sons.